Good morning and welcome. Before we begin our service, let us take a moment to share in our stone ritual. I place a stone for our joys. One for our sorrows. And one for our intentions for the coming week.
The care team is ready. Here's how they can be contacted. By email, care@uutampa.org, or call 386-846-1965. And now to our service.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. I'm Pat Benedict, and I'm your worship associate for this morning's service. We welcome you and thank you for joining during this virtual opportunity to be in community together. This is a time for us to reflect on the joy, comfort, and challenges we're facing today. Welcome to this time of connection.
Hello, everyone. Let us sing number 407. We're going to sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. We're gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. We're gonna sit at the welcome table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. All kinds of people around that table. All kinds of people around that table one of these days, hallelujah. All kinds of people around that table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. No fancy style around that table. No fancy style around the table one of these days, hallelujah. Fancy style around that table. Gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.
We open our service with these words from James Villa Blake. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our greatest covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We light our chalice this morning with words by Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Hi, my name is Erin Powers, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa, and today I have a story to share with you. There is a well-known story in our Unitarian Universalist lore called A Lamp in Every Corner by Janine K. Meyer. It's a story that I've told in worship many times, and this story is based in Transylvania and tells of a newly built church. A church built with love and hard work and dedication. And a child with their father notices that this brand new church has no lanterns. And this was in a time before electricity. And that everyone will soon be arriving to be together in this new church for the very first time. In the evening, how will they see in the dark? The father lovingly reminds the child that everyone in the community will bring their own lamp. And in that way, they will light the church. Their lanterns will join together to fill the church with warm light. And the people themselves will fill the church with the warmth of their hearts. This story is one of my favorites and is such a beautiful way of describing our church communities when we come together. And right now, we are not able to come together in this way. It is not safe for us to gather in the sanctuary. We must keep ourselves and our lanterns at home. It is the right thing to do, even though it is hard. Right actions often are. And even though we're home, we are finding ways to bring our light and share it with each other virtually. I see eyes light up and sparkle on Zoom meetings and smiles that shine like diamonds. I can feel the warmth of your hearts across the miles. But we are still missing being together in our sanctuary. There is still a warmth and connection that is not quite the same virtually. There are no hugs or high fives. So in this time, I encourage you to tend to your lantern at home. Keep the flame lit and revel in its warmth and glow. Watch the flame dance and dance along. Use the flame in your meditations and prayers. Feed your flame with music, art, poetry, and novels. Feed it with good food, dancing, nature, and games. And give your flame plenty of time to rest. Living in these times is tough, and rest will help us through. We will stay committed to staying home as long as we need to keep each other safer. And when we are able to be together again in our sanctuary, it will be bursting with the warmth of our lantern flames, our smiles and our hugs, and it will be a joyous day indeed.
And now it's time for our meditation. A very long time ago, a young monk was studying with an old monk. And the old monk said to the young one, "Tell me, how do you see?" "I see by the light of the sun," said the monk. "And if it is night?" asked the old monk. "If it is night, I see by the moonlight," answered the young monk. "And if there is no moon?" asked the old monk. There was a pause. Silence. Until the young monk replied, "Then I see by the light within me," and church kindles that flame.
Hello, everyone. Now we're going to sing number 352, Find a Stillness. Find a stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, Watch me flower, carry me in the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
We are happy to have Ralph Lehman as our speaker today. Ralph and Judy have been members of our church for 20 years, and UU's for just short of 30.
Hello. In this season of pollen and virus, one might be expected to sneeze. So if I go achoo, you will probably respond, at least some of you will. Bless you. I can't hear you. I just assumed that at least a few of you thought of doing so. Where did that come from? As usual, there are a bunch of thoughts about this, but I'm only going to describe one of them. Medieval society believed that a sneeze would force a person's soul out of the body. And once it was out of the body, the devil could get it. So a blessing was required as a call to God to restore the soul back into the body before Satan could grab it. So what does that tell us about how people have thought and to some extent still think about the soul? Well, it tells us the soul is personal, that it's deeply situated within each of us, and that it's situated somewhat tenuously. It can be lost if sufficient force is applied to it. But it also says that the soul must be very important, since it can only be restored by asking God to do so. And all of this is an example of a truism. We are mindful of our minds. So I thought I would challenge both my ignorance and inclinations and see what I could learn and say about the soul. It's a religious subject, but also a poetic, psychological, and personal one. For those of you who reject the concept, I respond, even its rejection makes it personal. But anyway, do rest assured though, while I am going to talk about the soul, I am not going to talk about salvation. I know you think I'm talking to you about the soul, and I am, but I'm also talking to myself. I picked this topic to see where it would lead me. So if I wander, don't be surprised. Thinking about this has been helpful to me, and I believe I've learned something. Yeah, I'm still a work in progress, but I think I've learned something. And hopefully what I have to say about the soul will touch yours. Now, before I proceed, let me diverge by beginning with the word soul. I've chosen this particular word to investigate my thoughts about it. And in doing so, and discussing it, it's best to remember that it's not only our thoughts that control our words, but our words that control our thoughts. And if that's enough thoughts for you, you can always exit this talk. So what about the soul? What is it? Why is it important? The 13th century poet, Persian poet, Rumi, asks, when will you begin that long journey into yourself? So let's ruminate about that a bit. And if you don't think that my being able to make that last statement was part of the reason I chose to quote from Rumi, you're very much mistaken, but you can ruminate further if you wish. Anyway, Rumi's words talk about oneself, and those words that we just heard, and about getting into its inner portion, to what we call the soul. But to get there, one must begin with a sense of self. A sense of self is essential to any concept of the soul, that is a soul peculiar to you. Now, that kind of sense of self, of one's own identity, is apparent in some animals. Now, I'm not simply talking about the identity you give to them, giving your dog or cat a name. That doesn't convey personhood in this sense. Not that your dog doesn't recognize you in a crowd or rejoice in your company. Actually, your cat probably recognizes you too, but it's just not that interested. But what I'm talking about is something more. The personhood I am speaking about, and which I suggest is essential in a person to have a soul, is that individuality that you recognize in and claim for yourself. I'm not saying cats and dogs may not have some of this, but if they do, it's awfully little. So, are we unique in this respect? To what extent do animals have a sense of their soul and the way we're talking about it? Well, let me give you an example. Take a monkey, put it to sleep with an anesthetic, and paint a red mark right over its eyebrow. And while it's asleep, give it a new experience. Put a mirror next to it and let it wake up. When the monkey looks in the mirror, it charges the mirror and backs away, charges the mirror and it backs away. It does it repeatedly. Monkeys faced with some creature that they don't know do this. They're trying to decide what to do. Do I charge it or do I retreat? It's a behavior called fight and flight. So let's do the same thing with a chimpanzee. At least some people have, I haven't. When you do this with a chimp, the chimp wakes up, looks in the mirror and goes just like that. It scratches the paint from its forehead. At least more than half of them do. Best I can tell, the other half can't be bothered. Anyway, chimps seem to recognize themselves in a mirror. And it suggests that at least that and some other species have a sense of their own identity. And we're not alone in this. It's kind of a bit of a source of wonder. But as humans, we do seem to have a much greater and more complex sense of our identities as individuals, more so than other animals do. Our sense of personhood includes something else. It's a degree of self-reflection, not evident in other animals. It is, as Rumi says, that long journey into ourselves, into our souls. And in doing so, our souls can view themselves. We can and do examine our thoughts, emotions, and motivations. It is the self viewing the self, a viewing and recognition of oneself that we call self-reflection, and it doesn't require a mirror. We're an organism that not only views itself, but questions what it finds there. It is an especially human trait, and it's integral to what we call the soul. Rumi also says, "Why are you so enchanted by this world when a mine of gold lies within you? There is a force within you that gives you life. Seek that." He is saying that there's a unique place of value. It's within each of us, and that is a refuge and a source of personal energy. It is you and it is yours. And again from Rumi, "The soul is my guide. Your heart knows the way. Run in that direction." That it is within oneself that one should find the thoughts and feelings that drive one's actions and ideas. It is a spirit that feeds and encourages us as we proceed. But, at least in these quotes, Rumi dwells upon the inner life and how it leads one upon one's path. He doesn't seem to speak about how the path one has been traveling upon affects the soul. For it's not only our inward exploration, but our outward experience that shapes us. Is a combination of experience and self-examination, however limited or deep, that creates, shapes, and rebuilds the soul. In turn, The soul is a source of personal worth and guidance. It offers a formidable personal basis for action as its expression gives meaning to life. Giving meaning to life is the work and the joy of the soul. Viktor Frankl was a victim of the Holocaust, and he put it this way: striving to find a meaning in one's life is the primary motivational force in man. The true meaning of life is to be discovered in the world rather than within man or his own psyche. The meaning of life changes, but it never ceases to be. To be sure, a human being is a finite thing, and his freedom is restricted. It is not freedom from conditions, but it is freedom to take a stand toward conditions. Religion is the soul seeking its path in the world and among its inhabitants. Church provides community that offers a wider horizon and support on that path. It validates, provokes, and elevates one's journey. In crossing each other's path, we are not only strengthened by our similarities and sense of common purpose, but we're challenged and nourished by differences by diversity of thought and circumstance. And as a church community and as individuals, we recognize and honor diversity of culture, race, and gender, of life experience and circumstance in each individual. As UUs, we recognize this in our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We all deserve respect and have something to contribute. I've always had a bit of difficulty with this principle. Did Hitler have worth and dignity? Well, what about Stephen Paddock, who on the night of October 1st, 2017, opened fire on a crowd at a music festival on the Las Vegas Strip? He killed 264 people. He wounded another 413, as well as injuring a bunch of people in the panic that followed. We don't have satisfactory explanations for how someone could act that way. Did they have worth and dignity? Something was certainly wrong with their souls. In our first principle, we agree that everyone deserves respect and has something to contribute. Do we? Given the examples I just mentioned and all the others we could name, it doesn't seem that simple. Perhaps it would be best if we considered our principles not as absolutes, but as guides. I think, and you may wonder, if there are limits as to how they apply to situations that require personal judgment, at times a difficult judgment that reaches deeply within us. Another of our principles acknowledges this by affirming the authority of individual conscience, the voice within our souls, and the authority of the democratic process, the voice within our congregations. So what am I suggesting? I'm suggesting it's complicated, that our principles are essentially guides and fundamental starting points in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. They reinforce each other, but also challenge. Combined with trust and love, these fuel our efforts for justice and a better world. Well, okay. What have I discussed so far? That we have within us a striving for personal meaningfulness, an expression of the soul within, and that our church, its principles and community, offers us help and opportunity for this by valuing each of us individually and by helping each of us to do so both spiritually and materially. What I haven't spoken about directly is how we relate to one another. I and thou, even soul to soul. To repeat the words of Simone Weil, every being cries out silently to be read differently. We all wish to be recognized as individuals by others, as distinct and different, as having our own soul at the core of our being and peculiar to each of us. And just as we look for others to recognize this in us, we look for and recognize this in others. In the more contemporary words of Dr. Mary Renzel, a piece of maintaining brain health is connecting with others. In so doing, we bring meaningfulness and meaning to both, to each other. It's a mutual endeavor. When we meet one another, it is always a chance to glimpse another's soul, and taking the time and making the effort is a form of respect and love. I would like to tell you a story that I found while I was preparing this sermon. It's derived from Manira Damani's book, The Thank You Bell. It goes more or less this way. Upon walking into a kitchen, a mother saw her 8-year-old daughter holding an apple, one in each hand. "Mom, I want to give you an apple." "Oh, thank you. I'd love that," said her mother. But her delight in her daughter's kindness turned into disappointment as her daughter took one large bite out of each apple. Only after this did her daughter give her an apple. Her mother wondered, should she or shouldn't she ask her daughter why she'd taken a bite from both of the apples before giving her one. She was disappointed. She decided to ask. Her mother replied, "I bit both of them. I wanted to give you the sweeter one." And the mother smiled. What happened here? One way to think about this, at least from the mother's viewpoint, is that she was hoping that her child was expressing love for her and capable of experiencing the joy that comes from giving to someone else. This is what we wish for ourselves and for one another. And while there are other aspects to this story, I would also like to emphasize the mother's response. She smiled. It was an expression of happiness, a message of respect and appreciation. It is the simplest outward expression of reciprocity. Our souls cry for mutual respect, trust, and love. This is the strength of reciprocity. In our church, we have a strong practice of reciprocity, and I would like to express my thanks for it and reinforce its import. It can be when we look into each other's eyes. It can be given as a smile, or if we clean the dishes after a meal. Reciprocity of kindness is an expression of the soul. It is a recognition of an intentional kindness. And so it expresses and reinforces respect and love in both parties. Not so much reciprocity in kind, but a reciprocity kindly given. A reciprocity not only given, but also received with the kindness of mutual gratitude and appreciation. Love given is love maintained. Love returned is love made stronger. We're all different, and diversity requires reciprocity if there is to be peace and progress. It is such kindness and mutual gratitude that binds community and nourishes diversity within and beyond it. It is one more way in which I and thou converts to I and we. It is a form of affirming and enhancing the worth and dignity of all people. And as such, it strengthens our common endeavor to help one another and our efforts to aid those beyond this church. In that spirit, by the way, I would like to add my voice to yours and thank the board for maintaining our church, thank our worship committee for fostering its spirit, and thank all those who have helped keep us together in community. Soul work indeed. Now, I've talked a lot about the soul, but what does this have to do with religion? And what room is there in this for an agnostic or atheist like me? I believe that religion is the practice of navigating this world, keeping one's soul intact and allowing it to guide one to give to others. and that in doing so, each of us sings our soul to the world in a key, a cadence, and a volume of one's own choice, though with care not to disrupt the neighbors. As the song goes, some sing low and some sing higher, but all of us sing to all inspire. We are currently in a time of separation and confinement. Judy and I have been guilty of making the same puzzle twice, and we're looking forward to doing it for a third time. These are times that try our souls. In a comment upon our times, Peggy Noonan noted that no nation in the history of the world has closed both its churches and its liquor stores simultaneously and survived. In other words, regardless of how dire our circumstances, we must be able to seek solace somewhere. And here we are, together in spirit, if not in body, and souls. In this time of confinement, free your soul. Always remember who you are. Keep your soul intact and rejoice in it. Peace be with you.
Today is the first Sunday of the month, which is our Share the Plate Sunday. This month, we continue to support The Spring, a women's shelter. Please contribute as you are willing and able to this vital organization. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Now we're going to sing number 352, Find a Stillness. Find a stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
Our closing words today are Carry the Flame by Brian Kiley. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. So may it be.
Everybody join with me in singing number 1064 in your hymnals, Blue Boat Home. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel. sail and moon my rudder as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens and our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sky before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to the time when we can all be together again in our wonderful sanctuary in our church. Thank you.